Anyway, all right. Well, that's what happened. What are your closing thoughts on that television program? Which was, like I said, there was a lot of good stuff there. And I was writing down, this is good shit. The top guys are always good. And the bottom guys always suck. And it doesn't need to be that way.
I like AEW singles division. And when I say singles division, everyone in that mix. From the young guys like Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, obviously MJF. Jungle Boy, who wasn't even on this show this week, to the guy. I mean,
can you imagine, just for a second? Hold on a second, because a lot of people are saying, "Well, for that audience, Orange Cassidy. For that audience, Orange Cassidy." Okay, for that audience, if you're on Broadway at a fucking huge theater doing an English drawing room play, do you suddenly break out into fucking trained chimps because they're an entertaining thing to watch? Also, it doesn't fit in that environment. If they had taken the TV time and the effort they have put into a guy sticking his hands in his pockets and put that into Jungle Boy going out there and triumphing over some adversity almost every week, then Jungle Boy would be just as over with that audience as Pockets, and he wouldn't be detrimental to the overall genre of the program. And besides that, for fuck's sake, you know, if somebody coming out and taking a shit in the middle of the ring got a rousing ovation from that audience, would you still want to fucking do it every week? And what happens when he's just taking the same amount of shit every week? But I just think that if they put that much effort and time into something else that would not detract from the rest of their program, then I don't think anybody in that building would have set the seats on fire if Pockets was not on the program. They cheer when he's there, but they would have cheered Jungle Boy too, and you could build him into something that means something.
If the Ding Dongs had somehow inexplicably gotten over and sold merch, would it still have been the right move to push them? I guess that's kind of the orange.
That is the rhetorical question that we are asking in a nutshell.
But I like what AEW's top guys and singles division guys and young guys bring to the table. I actually look forward to seeing what's going on with all that. The women's division to me is a total loss, and I don't need to watch those segments. And those are typically the segments where I can kind of zone out. I think the tag team division, I really enjoyed the Young Bucks, Omega, and Page match. And I really like Omega and Page as a team because of the dynamic there. And I love Page. I think Page, he finally won me over. And he's got that buckshot lariat over. And he's over with their fans more now than he was 6 months ago. But other than that, I don't want to see SCU anymore. And I think Scorpio Sky is tremendously talented.
Yeah.
I don't need to see the Dork Order ever again.
And the Butcher Baker and Candlestick Maker. Next week, MJF is with the Butcher Baker and Candlestick Maker against, who was it? Wait a minute.
Jurassic Express.
The Jurassic. So that means that Jungle Boy will be the lost guy. The money in that team will be the lost guy because everybody will look at the big guy, Luchasaurus, for the big spots, and they'll laugh at Stunted Growth for doing the fucking goofy shit. So the biggest star of the bunch of those three, Jungle Boy, the one that has the most upside, will be marginalized because he's not the littlest sympathetic babyface on the team, but he's not the big ass kicker. He's just the guy in the middle. He's like fucking Chip on My Three Sons. He's the kid in the middle that gets the least camera time.
And there's an example. Butcher and the Blade, great look. At least, the Butcher has one. I don't think they've won a single match since they've been in there. They were brought in as MJF's, not bounty hunters, but his backup, and they've lost every single time they've been on TV.
And how do they look like that MJF, this prick kid from fucking Long Island, would have anything to fucking do with these people? Him and Wardlow, yes, but they just to pair people up that would have no reason to interact with each other in real life.
There was a very theatrical little segment where MJF showed up in their butcher shop and handed them a.
Well, I know that, but no, that's completely ridiculous. The great factions, whether it be DX or the Four Horsemen or whatever the fuck, look like people that would be fucking hanging out with each other. I thought the dynasty in MLW was great. MJF and Richard Holiday and Alexander Hammerstone, because they interacted with each other and had even though each one was different, they had personalities that looked like they would be a group of like college jock fucking assholes. That worked. That was a great group. I don't why the fuck that exact group is not on national television. I have no idea, besides the fact that Tony Khan don't want to spend any money to get him away from Court Bauer. But it's lunacy that group isn't on national television.
Yeah, Hammerstone should be on AEW TV.
Well, good God, all through Holiday is underrated because he was in between Hammerstone and MJF. But he added to the group, and he's got his own thing, and he does his own different shit. But the point is, that group, and I'm not trying to downplay the relevance of MLW, but that group was on MLW TV, and a billionaire gets into business, and he's plucking people from all over the world, and that fucking group doesn't transfer. Oh, my God.
But, my point is, there's all this I like in AEW, but then there's the other side, and it creates a weird environment when you're watching the show. Like, I'm okay with Marco Stunt being the mascot / manager for the Jurassic Express.
Okay, well, then I will give you a Bobby Heenan line. When he tried to smarten his mother up that the wrestling business was a work, and she said, honey, I knew that. Do you think I'd think anybody was stupid enough to let you manage them? What good would Marco Stunt be except a liability, a small child hanging around getting in fucking trouble? He can't talk for them. He wouldn't be their business manager. What do they need a mascot for? Keep the fucking attention on the young babyface superhero for the future, Jungle Boy, that's got all the fucking tools and all the attraction, and his big lug-headed fucking partner that is the big cleanup guy that does the power shit. The fucking idiot kid, the village idiot kid, detracts and does nothing for him in any way, shape, or form.
You see, the thing that really bothers me is him being competitive in these matches that go a long time and no one can finish him off.
Well, no, him being in these matches.
It's ridiculous.
Just the idea of him being sanctioned to compete athletically against these full-grown men makes the whole scenario visually preposterous, and people can poke holes in it a mile away. If Jungle Boy at 160 pounds was the fucking small one that everybody was pushing around and taking advantage of, that's how he gets his sympathy. And then he's a good-looking kid and a good-looking athlete that overcomes adversity and fucking has guts and wins in the end in some type of Hail Mary fashion and a Cinderella story out of nowhere. But instead, this fucking idiot glorified midget is running around doing these goofy spots with these guys that are flinging themselves around for him, and it makes the whole thing gaga. So it's Jungle Boy should fucking garrote Marco Stunt in his sleep if Jungle Boy wants to have a successful career in professional wrestling. Right now, Marco Stunt is an anchor around Jungle Boy's fucking neck, and he's in the jungle in a goddamn pile of quicksand. And that's something you don't see on TV enough these days like you used to back in the 70s, is a good fucking pit of quicksand.
And with MJF, I am such a fan of his, and they've done so much right with him, but they've also done a lot wrong with him. They've made him look weak at times where I thought it was a mistake, but also, now that it's been shown that he's one of the biggest ratings movers on that show, why do you have him in a 2-minute promo? Why isn't he out there for an entire segment each and every show? If he's not in a match, have him on the platform, on the stage, doing a promo or just doing something. Why is he in a 2-minute backstage promo? He's one of the guys that moves the ratings.
You know what he could carry off? He could do something. Well, no. Yes, he could do that too, but something that only Lawler has ever done to my knowledge, and he did it on the old WWF TV back in the mid-90s when he was doing the stuff with Bret Hart, do commentary on his own match. He would work with the job guy, and he made it believable. And I think MJF is probably the only other human walking the earth that could pull this off, to where he could have the match with the stick microphone doing his own commentary and get 3 or 4 or 5 minutes out. And of course, ends up getting bumped on his ass and blah, blah, blah. And then he gets serious and wins. But he could do both. He could do his own fucking commentary.
But I mean, he's on TMZ
It would be better than Best Friends.
Of course. Well, anyone would. But he's on TMZ this week, and then he's in a 2-minute segment. So anyone who says, oh, who is this guy? I've never seen him before. I don't know what AEW is. Because believe it or not, there's still a lot of people who don't know what AEW is. And they say, let me check this out. He's barely on the show.
Yeah, well, and you know, that's not even being anti-AEW, because when Kurt Angle was in TNA and he started there in 2006, so 2007, they're on Spike TV. They're doing twice as many people as AEW is doing now for the rating because of the way times have changed. And every time Kurt would go through the airport, people still, when did you quit wrestling? Because they just didn't know TNA was there. And it's the same thing at Ring of Honor. When they got on Sinclair television stations, the people who knew to look for it was the initial audience, and it took months, if not years, for more people outside that bubble to find out that Ring of Honor was a thing and was around. It's not knocking the promotion. It's just it takes a while once you get regular television to spread your fucking word. Anyway.
Those are my thoughts. But you know what? I can actually tell you right now that I think the show has gotten much better since the beginning of the year. Since that Dork Order ending where he stuck his finger in the Buck's mouth and pulled out blood, whatever.
Well, they've been steadily trending upward since the JoJo the Dogface Boy and the Legless Wonder were in the Battle Royal. So yes, they have been getting better because they set the bar so low at the beginning that it's kind of hard not to fucking hop over that bad boy. But
it feels alive, not just live, but it feels alive.
Yeah,
and I can actually say I look forward to watching it now, even though there's stuff I'm going to really not like on the show. There's enough for every bad thing. There's something that's not just good, but better than anything on WWE TV.
That's true. And they've been listening to this program so much and they've adopted so many of our ideas that the program is really, really coming along now. And so I just said that simply so that quote can be out there on YouTube and everything, and all those fucking whiny little bitch, all elite wrestling fans that don't like our style of program can go, oh, he's so insufferable.
Well, what do you think now after watching 3 weeks of Raw? Like comparing that, and we watched NXT, and we're about to do SmackDown, but at least...
Well, yeah, no. In every way, All Elite Wrestling has more fire and more life and is more exciting than Raw. And I can't even say the same thing about Raw as I was saying about NXT, that the level of training and athleticism and execution is higher on NXT across the board than it is on AEW, because those kids have been trained to death. Some of the main Raw roster has not been trained to death, it looks like. But at NXT still puts on a more professional television program top to bottom, but so much of their matches are sameness, and there's promos are still so heavily scripted that only like an Adam Cole can get away with sounding good. So yeah, All Elite Wrestling is more of a wrestling program in flavor, especially of promos and of pacing, than anything WWE's doing, including NXT. But just some of the outlaw talent choices, which they are minimizing, and like I said, maybe they can take constructive criticism. So we'll see. So it's a horse race at this point.
And they're bringing on more guys. You know, who knows what happens with Jeff Cobb if he comes back and signs a contract.
After his huge splash and victorious debut, maybe he better go away and learn a new hold and come back in 6 months.
But all these guys, Jeff Cobb, let's say they bring in Lance Archer, let's say Brody Lee comes in, let's say Matt Hardy comes in, a few more guys.
Matt will really pick things up quite a bit.
Him being able to be a little more creative than he's been stifled for a while, obviously, although sometimes when he is let loose with his creativity, things go a bit astray also. But the more of these guys that you start signing up, and the more other guys that, you know, potentially the revival, and the more of these guys that you bring in, there's going to be less space for some of the outlaw indie shit that gets on the show, because you're going to have more serious
I don't know,
wrestlers.
but you're also going to have people pulling for outlaw indie shit, such as 93-pound Japanese schoolgirls as champions, and or, you know, fucking My Little Dog Pockets. He's a ratings mover. And didn't Tony Khan dress up as My Little Dog Pockets for Halloween or whatever?
He certainly did. Yeah.
So that's the problem. There have been quality wrestlers that could have replaced this Drek from the start. They never had to use the legless man. They never had to use the little fucking 100-pound guy. They didn't have to use the Japanese schoolgirls. They didn't have to use the fucking guys that work with the Invisible Man, the jellied Nutellas of the world, whatever the fuck. They did it because they were all friends of fucking people that were in a position of authority, which to me, it was malfeasance. There should have been a search for the absolute best athletic talent available. And to a billionaire, a lot of things are available, whether they're under contract or not. And that should have been the product they started presenting. So we wouldn't have had to run them down the fucking road for the past 6 to 9 months about how stupid a lot of their shit was. And we could have concentrated on, wow, these guys at the top, they really know what they're doing. So now they're trying to suck up and make things right. Well, it may just be too late. I may be permanently offended. No, but anyway, they're trying to rectify it, but I don't know why they were doing it to begin with. Otherwise, then there's just, a bunch of guys who thought I can get all my friends on TV. And there you go. And then we can quote Uncle Dave on the fucking package.
And the only other thing I would do if I was Tony Khan is insist that Cody Rhodes gets no further tattoos.
No further tattoos. No tattoos for you.